The sophistication to inspire exhilaration. And the technology to customize every ride. Packaged to create a luxury ride like no other. Introducing the most premium personal watercraft on the market. The 2021 FX Series from Yamaha.
Morning. I'm in a much better mood today than I was yesterday when it was raining and we were doing my most favorite thing, camping in the rain. But it was all worthwhile. We've seen off hopefully the bad weather. Now we're going to hit the queue for the launch here. Life jacket, check. One packing system, check. And gloves, check. Check, how's this color coding? How's this? Look at it. Can't even tell the jacket from my fingers. Game plan today? Well, it would have been to be on a kayak, but my cameraman, my editor, my boss, Cameron, camera boss, he said no, I need to be on the boat.
This is my first time fishing in Cape Vidal and I'm very, very excited. I was holding back a bit because I was a bit nervous for the launch, but then I just said to myself, always say yes to new adventures and gonna go for it. And I'm hoping to catch a good game fish like a kuta or a tuna or maybe hopefully a prodigal son. So yeah, let's just see what the day holds and yes to new adventures.
We'll probably play it as we see what's happening out on the water. If there's bait and there's fish around nearby, well then we just fish close, because then you don't need to go far because the fish are here. So yeah, hopefully there's fish right here and then we can get some good action, get some good footage, and then hopefully I can get on the kayak this afternoon. I'll have to ask Cam's permission though, of course. Okay, thank you. I thought we were gonna go. Well done, BK. Shot, bro. Well done. Shot. Morning, welcome to Cape Vidal. What a cracker, hairy launch.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Thursday night's weekly wrap. We've got on my right here, we've got Doug Slowgrove who's joining us. Give us some backup, a little bit of backup here with his technical expertise. And then we've got Ash joining us, Ash Tillarum, from quite an infamous family or famous family, depending which side you're on, if you're getting a hiding in the competition at some stage from the shore. And we've also got Dr. Lisa Ramsey joining us. And both of them did join us. They're both doctors and a meteorologist. So we did have them on the show about a month or two ago, just after those first heavy rains that we had. Hi there, Lisa. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. And then we've also got Brendan joining us. Brendan also backing us up here, and Brendan's talking some stuff that's happening on the comm side. We'll get into it a little bit later, but we had Ash and Visa with us about a month or two ago, and we had some technical challenges, and it broke up, and it was very unfortunate because we didn't record it either. So it was one of those really bad nights. But there's some valuable information that we discussed there, and so we thought, let's get them in again. And unfortunately, we obviously were not wanting to have a similar incident to the first one that KZN got absolutely hammered by, and unfortunately, we've experienced something quite similar in the last weekend, and it's really put the province on its back foot again. And we thought we'd get them in, just chat about that, and just see, what's sort of causing, these sort of out of the norm experiences that we're seeing from rainfall, especially sort of moving into winter. We're a subtropical climate. We're expecting to have that sort of heavy rains, in the summer periods, either early summer or then going into the back end of sort of Feb, where you get your cyclone sometimes pushing and catching the tail of the cyclone, feeling that moisture in and getting those heavy rains. But now in the sort of in the space of less than sort of 2 months, we've had two major sort of upsets that have really put a lot of pressure on the province. We've had our challenges already, but the damage that it's been caused has just been horrific. And once again, it does show how communities pull together. We've seen unbelievable sacrifice from people, giving up their time, giving whatever they have, sharing that with communities, and a lot of NGOs like the Givers and other types of organizations, raising food, parcels, blankets, whatever it might be, and that's a big up to all of those organizations. But going back to your sort of area of expertise, besides fishing,
yes,
besides fishing, which is all of our, we all think we're experts, we're not all there yet, but besides that, I mean, that's just from your side. What's causing it? What caused this event?
I think the last couple of events that we've had, on the most recent one this last week that has passed us, and then also about a month ago we had a heavy rainfall that come through with the flooding in the lakes, and that was obviously due to what we would call a cut-off low, which is far more intense than a cold front that will come through from the Cape. And the cut-off low carries with it a very cold polar air mass from the Antarctic that comes up with quite a lot of moisture air that carries a lot of rainfall associated with it as well. And that fundamentally is the result as to why we would expect to have high levels of rainfall and even and bad weather conditions. So yeah, it's more attributed to the cut-off low. Lisa, you want to add anything on that side from your end?
Yeah, just maybe that the systems move in the westerly wind, so they move from west to east. And the thing about a cut-off low is it gets stuck. It gets cut off from its westerly from the westerly flow. And the air stagnates in one. And what we've seen, because of the clockwise circulation around these low pressure cells, there's been sort of more moist air fed in from sort of the ocean off Mozambique, and that's really intensified these systems. And we've seen quite a lot of rainfall, particularly the first one, which was heavy. The second one this last weekend, it had been the only, it wouldn't have been as devastating. I think our water table was just so high and the ground was saturated. So the rainfall that we did experienced this last weekend, just in overland flow and causing quite a lot of destruction because of the previous event. So the event a couple of weeks ago was intense than the last one, but both cut-off lows and similar systems, low pressure systems that get sort of stuck in one spot, and it happened to be over KZN, and they intensify in that position, and just rain more gets fed in from off Mozambique, and that rain gets dumped overland.
Yeah, so just we were chatting about it a bit earlier, and one of the things we were talking about in a lot of our shows over the last sort of 2 years, or since basically COVID started, over the last 2 years, that we've seen a lot more warmer water temperature off of the Taal coast. So, normally in summer we've been seeing, probably I'm talking previous to last 2 years, prior to that, if we get a 24, 25 degree, we've done well. And it hasn't been consistent. So you'll get it for maybe like a few days or maybe a week or so, and then it falls away and it drops back to maybe 23, but 25.
Yeah.
But it's been very erratic up until sort of 2 years ago. And the last 2 seasons in summer, we've had really consistent warm water. Even now, this summer now, sitting in the 26s and even touching on 27 off Durban. And I'm wondering if that's not also like part now, and that historically that would sit more up sort of Bardel, up to the North Squana Bardel. You can see that obviously where that deep water comes close. But now we've seen it down here for the last year. I wonder if that's sort of having an impact on it.
Yeah, absolutely. That would facilitate evaporation off the ocean surface, and that water just gets fed into the airstream, and it releases latent heat into the system, so it just fuels the system, and that extra moisture is just going to end up as rainfall. So definitely, warmer ocean temperatures do intensify these types of systems.
And then another thing we're talking about, Doug, Doug and I have also pushed together for not that old, 30 years, 30 years, and another thing we've always spoken about, a lot of the guys do in the fishing team is about shifting of seasons. So we would generally expect windy season, sort of August, September. But I mean, lately, Doug, we haven't seen necessarily that much wind intensity over that time, or either shifting.
Yeah, you haven't seen the big easterly start up as early, and the cold fronts tend to keep on going a bit later in the season. We're still getting bigger cold fronts all the way into September, October, as opposed to them dropping off when the easterlies becoming more dominant direction. So that tends to shift a bit.
Have you got any sort of thoughts on that?
I wouldn't say that there is any major shift in the weather pattern. Summer and winter likes will always still be in that part of the year. But yes, I think influences such as El Nino and La Nina we were talking about earlier on, the macro scale of climatic conditions can influence weather conditions in different seasons. When we have those macro scale climatic conditions coinciding with other climatic events on a micro scale, you can end up being with those much more warmer summers and much more cooler winters and the likes, and sometimes even cold fronts as well, doing funny things and extending later on in the year, sometimes even coming early on in the year as well. So yeah, it is already really relative to one another in terms of climate. It's like.
Yeah, the thing about climate is we're talking about decadal averages over long periods. So it's very hard to use sort of anecdotal evidence that things are changing, but we expect there to be shifts associated with climate change. So pressure systems shifting slightly. And I mean, just from my experience, this would need to be analysed far more carefully. But, I always associated February as our very hot, humid month. And that seems to have shifted slightly into March. And growing up, my birthday's at the end of April. I could never have a swimming party. But I've been finding that in the recent years, we're still swimming around the end of April. So, yes, it feels like things are shifting. It takes a lot of data to make these kind of claims. But yeah, it's something we would expect, that there would be some kind of shift in averages over time. So yeah, not unexpected.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I speak to Doug a lot, and Doug obviously on the gear side is very strong. And I think, yeah, I mean, we're talking about sort of a year or two when you have a chat to Doug, you're talking about millions of years. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying. You know, we're making sort of our calls are minuscule in the greater scheme of things. Everyone needs to obviously be aware of that. But I mean, I think it's just about also being distinct and just picking up those small nuances changes. You know? And I think from a fisherman's point of view, going back to the fishing side, you know, it's all these small things that you have to start putting into your own processing bank, your own intelligence bank, your own bank that you build up from experience. It's actually really is experience every day. Like, you might see a pearl a day, but you'll see certain guys who are very good anglers just go and launch. You know, and it's a beautiful day, water's clean, whatever it might be, but the guys don't launch, and the guys who do launch, all catch a hiding. So, you know, it's also taking that information that we've got, whether it's pressure, pressure is playing obviously a big thing. Just talk to me a little bit about pressure. What I've got an understanding on it from my sort of diving background. What I think happens. Yeah. I mean, from your side, I mean, how do you see
atmospheric pressure? Yeah. And how it would influence fishing conditions in the lake. Yeah, I think
fish.
I'd like to obviously dive into a little bit more deeper, you know. And what comes to play is, you know, I'm talking specifically with game fish in the lakes, and you've got lateral lines, you've got their sensors in the lakes. And this fish, they really can sense the approaching cold fronts, approaching changes in barometric pressures in the lakes. And game fish in the lakes, you can say Garrick, even Kutia in the lakes, and their sensitive lateral lines can pick up the changes in barometric pressure. And that's what causes them to go on these feeding frenzies in the lakes, because they can sense that the bad weather is going to be coming and approaching. And then you obviously often wonder why the Kutia or why game fish are suddenly on a feeding frenzy. It's obviously linked to the feeding mechanisms that are within the fish themselves. Where they programmed, it's where they ability to that. Yeah. So often creatures can pick up these things far more earlier than we can. You can even sense them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, and also just going back, and we're just talking in general now, sort of the whole, what's happening, those sort of pressure changes that, you know, the mates of ours who had the computer just turned off. Turned on. And we had the video in the last show, which unfortunately never come up. We might find it. We'll put up again in some. And, you know, the fish just turned on. It was just before basically the major event. And I think also then what we're seeing is after these major events, the bait goes missing, which then sort of talks back to, well, why are the fish feeding before this event's coming? I mean, they're swimming under the water. What's the effect on them? No effect. But something's happening to the bait. I mean, we're seeing like straight after these big events, and we can understand that if you have a major flood event like we've had with these rains, with a lot of fresh water pushing out, and I'm open to anyone commenting. You've got fresh water pushing out, but obviously you must change the alkalinity in the water. Correct. And I mean, if you're sea-based fish, which is an example, especially pelagics, I think you require X amount of oxygen or certain alkalinity level, through their gills. Less so maybe than like a grunter, or salmon that's just you can imagine that they're going to be moving out. And most of your baits like that as well.
Yes.
Your mozzies, your mackerel, those things.
Correct.
Those sort of.
They tend to go out into deeper water where we can get the salinity levels in the ocean. Right.
So that's also then explaining so that why the fish are sort of like hitting it hard just before they come to the play and hold on, the bait's going to disappear and they lean out like a jar for it.
Correct.
Yeah. So you know. There's a lot of, like we said, a lot of nuances around the whole weather factor. We can chat about that, but that's why we've got you. So, guys, if you have any questions, drop them up on Facebook. Yeah, it'll come up on our screen, and we'll endeavour to answer them. So, I think that's one of the key things. Then the other thing that's happening is obviously, you know, we've got the SARS.
Oh yeah, the SARS are on their way. Yes, good one. Yes. On the corner.
We still think it's summer. That's the problem. We had this cracker game start, and we were kicking into the future. And the tuna was starting to arrive, and then all of a sudden we had this major event, and then it just started clearing up again, and a couple of cutters started coming up again.
Yeah.
You know, then you've had this another event now, and you look at the dates. It's the 26th of May.
May,
You
yes.
know, like June is like a week
June
away.
is generally
you
the
know what I
month
mean?
of the SARS,
Yeah.
when they arrive.
Yeah.
So you're right.
So, you know, Doug, I mean, your side, there's actually a report of, I don't know if you checked it, it's just come out like a day ago, 2 days ago. So,
Definitely the SARS are down in the Transkei, where exactly we don't know, but they've been spotted from Port St. John's area north already. So yeah, let's see how much further they get. There's a hell of a strong north to south current. It's pretty warm, and historically that hasn't been great conditions, but you never know. We've seen stranger things over the last 3 or 4 years with the SARS.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, they've seen pods of dolphin now over 1,000 strong. So, you know, they're not stupid. I mean, wherever, so they were a little bit, they were in the Transkei, but a little bit further south than the Transkei. So there was a lot of action sort of down in the southern part of Transkei.
Right.
But there was a lot of sort of like they had some pilot shoals on the back. When they got to sort of Umgazana, then it became a little bit iffy about whether it was red eyes or SARS. SARS, yeah. But just south of that, there was positive patches of SARS. And then the water also lost color from sort of Umgazana to the north. So,
That's it.
So they couldn't really see what was happening from that area. But a lot of activity. And there's a couple of fronts. I mean, I don't know if you want to just give us a view.
They are
that's happening in the next weekend.
Couple of weeks or so. Yes. No, I hear you, and terms of really coming from the sardine run and also the weather condition that we had over the past weekend, and the changing the water color and the murky water coming down the Port St. John's River and the likes. And it makes it difficult for one to spot the SARS and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a very interesting point. But with regards to cold fronts and the cold fronts that are coming up, there is one off East Cape Town, I think it is, off Western Cape. It should be to come up. Yeah, we can share with you guys some live feed. Maybe the guys who are hosting can maybe then share our screens, if that's okay.
Cam?
Yeah. Cam, can you help us out here?
What do you need?
There's Cam.
Cam, we want to try and display that windy.com page that I was showing earlier on.
You need to share your screen, Hash.
Okay. I can share my screen, no problem. Entire screen. Okay. And Lisa, maybe you can also chip in and help describe the cold fronts that are coming up. Here's a low here. Here it is. So yeah, we have a cold front that's going to be coming up towards South Africa.
You got it up there, Cam?
I got it up. You can use your mouse to point out whatever you want to point out.
Okay, cool. So yes, we do have a cold front coming up.
Okay.
All right. A cold front coming up across the west coast of South Africa. Obviously, these systems move from a westerly to an easterly direction. I am expecting this cold front system to come across towards Cape Town in the next couple of days or so, and it should be able to be then pass off over Durban by next week. I think Monday, Tuesday or so. We're expecting this cold front to pass over. Yes, the intensity of the cold front will dissipate as we come across Durban because of the landmass here, but still, it will still come through across Durban. I'm expecting it to come through by, I think, Monday or Tuesday or so. Okay.
And then we've got, if we're looking at this here, we can see to the south, you can see that west, and I think that's what, Lisa, that's what you were talking about, that west to east, what we're calling the westerlies. That sort of like a band, that continual trough of air that moves from the west to the east across the, and you can see what's happening is if you look to the southeast of Durban, you'll see that it's getting a little bit closer to the land there, the landmass where it's coming up before it swings away under Madagascar. So you'll see Madagascar to the north there. And what I'm thinking is happening now, it's just come a little bit closer to the land, and now it's feeding in some big swell. So you can see those. I mean, the darker patches are obviously very strong winds, 30, 40 knots, 60 to 80 kilometers an hour. And here's your swell now. So that swell is now feeding off of that wind where it's come a little bit closer to the land and it's pushing in there. So we're going to see a bit of swell this weekend. So for the paddle ski boys, you're going to have to man up a little bit. But for the strong paddlers, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. It's looking like about a 13-second gap. So you've got a nice gap. There'll be some nice breaks there. So you should be able to get out off Durban and to the north. And then what we saw also was some nice clean water pushing in from Durban to the north. So off from Schlonga, there's a color line that's come right inside. So we've got a reverse current. The ships yesterday were all north to south, which I was concerned about because we've got the Schlonga Interclub on this weekend. And I was concerned that with that north to south, we weren't going to get a clean up on the water. Because obviously you've got Tugela and all the rivers to the north pushing out and then coming down. But what I saw I saw a video this morning, and all the ships now have swung around to the south in Durban. So if you zoom in there, I'm not sure, is this live now? Yeah. So if you zoom in, because what you got to understand is you're looking from Scottborough to Durban, so you're looking bigger distances.
Let's see temperature.
That's an indication of current as well. If you zoom in off Durban, you'll see.
So if you're going a bit closer now, so you can just see sort of Durban to Belito. Zoom in a little bit if you can. And then swing up to the north. So if you're looking now you can see now which way that sort of sea temperature is moving. And if you go to current now, let's just see if it's picked it up now or
more layers. Down. There's current below sea temperature.
So you can see there we've got that big north to south, which is Mozambique current flowing on the outside. But now you're starting to get that reverse current. You can see between Durban and Mshloti and Belito, although it's showing out to sea, it actually was a little bit south to north this morning, on the inside. So you got that little bit of south to north moving. Now what it's done is it's pulled a bit of clean water in there now. So there's a color line sitting from Mshlonga running to the north, and it looks like it's going to push in a little bit closer. So you can expect better water to the north, probably Mshloti area. I'm not sure if it's going to get right into Belito, but it should generally, because of the angle of the coast. If you're looking at the coast, it's not north to south. It runs more sort of like east to west. So it's like a northeasterly line. So if you get that south-north clean water, obviously it feeds in, and as you go further north, then it'll hit the shore. So you might find Belito will be clean on the weekend, but it'll be too big for you paddle ski guys, so don't go there. Please and irritated. No, I'm kidding. But so it's no, I think north's going to be good. I'm not sure what's happening down south. I did get one phone call that the water was quite dirty down that Scottborough area, but definitely there's a little bit of a clean patch. So worthwhile trying to get out there weekend. And the swell, I think, also riding on the coast, the swell will probably be a little bit more subdued than on the outside. So that sort of 2 meter might be like a 1.8 or 1.6. But not much wind on Saturday, swinging, coming into a bit of an east in the afternoon.
Saturday and Sunday.
And then Sunday there's a bit of a west coming through. So that might be that front that's coming
a front
across.
coming on by Monday, Tuesday.
And then it'll be properly into us by then.
Correct.
But guys, these are sort of the sites that you need to get on. That's windy.com. This is going to give you so much information, and then you'll start looking at pressures. So you can imagine I'll expect a rise in pressure on Saturday, because just before the west, you're going to have the east sucking in. We call it sucking in because remember, the east actually comes from the south, not from the north, if that makes sense. So as your front moves up the coast, the wind gets sucked by the, so your east actually comes, the front is moving up in front of the front. The low pressure, your east sucks into it. So you'll see on Saturday it starts swinging to east, and I'd imagine the pressure will be rising. And then on Sunday, the west is going to come, and then you get that pressure drop on the back of the west. So we can expect a nice bite. I would say Saturday is probably a really good day to be out. You're going to have pressure. The tides. It's not springs, but it's almost reversal springs. So. And I think, again, the tides are going to be quite crucial. So fishing on it's high, I think at about 2-3 in the morning, you're going to have that low at about 8. So I think that change around it going into the low, probably between 7 o'clock. So those first 2 hours on Saturday, I think are really going to be hot. So if you can get on the water, Saturday's definitely. And then, of course, when the west is about to come, you have that big pressure change. Then Sunday morning, again, just before that west will be a key time as well. And the tide will be swinging again. It'll move like a 45 minutes forward, probably 9 o'clock, or it's going to go low. So that then fishing into that low, I think it's going to be good. So I think the weekend's looking very promising. If you can find a patch of reasonable water, I think it's going to be a good time on the water. Yeah.
Anecdotally, that pretty much sums up the weekend.
Guys, please, if you see any boats, they're fishing in the interclub, please move out the way. They have priority this weekend on the water. Again, I'm just joking. Everyone's welcome. Yeah, but we're fishing the Mswanga interclub. It's hosted by Mswanga, and we've got some of the Natal teams fishing as a training ground for them. So we've got 4 Natal teams that are going to fish in the Game Fish Nationals in about a month's time. Some Lucia, and they're doing a bit of training. There are teams as well. There's under 16s, under 19s, and the main team side. So that's a great initiative from NDSA, just to get the boys really geared up, get them fishing together, work through all the tackle and that now, before they just arrive and have to fish in the comp, so they can represent us well there. And then Brendan, on your side, on the comp side, geez, you've had some epic challenges yourself.
Yeah, BK, it was a bit of a interesting week last week, and I was on the phone to Hash for like half the week, just chatting to him and getting some updates on the weather from his side, because obviously when we were building up to what should have been last week's comp, the weather was fluctuating quite a lot. At the beginning of the week, it started really looking bad, and then one of the days it looked okay for the Sunday, and then things just turned on the Wednesday, and fortunately we made the call and postponed it. Otherwise it would have been a lucky draw comp, all in our gumboots and umbrellas, because it was not a pleasant weekend last weekend. But we've obviously pushed it further out now to the 4th and 5th of June. And just in terms of that weather, Hash, when you were saying that cold front's coming on Monday, Tuesday, I guess in terms of our comp, it's not a bad thing with that cold front coming a little bit earlier in the week.
Yes, correct.
Unless obviously the front comes up behind it as well. But there's nothing you can do about that. But it's rather that front comes earlier in the week, I'm guessing.
Correct.
So hopefully it means.
Let's have a look. Let's have a quick look and just see how it is looking for the. I'm going to put you on the spot there, Brendan, a little bit. But look, I think just from my point of view, I think it was a really good call. I think it was a good call because the reality is, the Sapphire King of the Sea is really, it's a great comp, and it's a family comp. So it's a family orientated comp as well. You've got Pomula Beach Hotel, which is really family orientated. There's a lot of activities happening while the guys are fishing, so it's not just mommy left to look after the kids. They're really geared to look after kids as well. There's a whole lot of other activities going. There's the crayfish, and there's the fishing off the beach, and so it's really a great weekend. And you really don't want to have it when it's raining, and the weather conditions are poor, because it's such an opportunity to have a good time. So I think it was it's a tough call to make, but I personally, I think it was definitely the right call. That hopefully we can get some decent weather now. And it does.
It was a tough call on Wednesday. It was a tough call when we made it, but then by the time the weekend came around,
definitely right.
I think we realised, good thing we made that call.
So this we're looking at Saturday.
So how's it looking ahead there?
The 4th of June.
Looking beautiful.
Much better. Yes, much more favorable conditions to get a bait in the water.
So looking beautiful, and also this.
So hopefully I won't be on the phone to you all week next week, Ash.
Yeah, and
Okay,
juggling
no.
between meetings and the likes. And are we fishing or not? Yeah.
Don't jinx it, but yeah, I mean, if you look,
Don't jinx it,
if you look,
but,
if you look to the west as well, you're not seeing anything happening out there
Yeah.
in the west.
Yeah.
That's
See, that we were talking about those apps earlier, and that's what I enjoy about Windy. Obviously, you've got Wind Guru, you've got Wind Finder. Those
Yeah.
give you a little bit of a short-term overview. But if you want a good longer-term look, Windy, you can zoom right out and you can see those weather systems coming from sort of far away, which is that's why that app is so good and so helpful, I think. So there we go. There's the dates there. 4th and 5th of June registration on the 3rd of June, all happening at Pomula Beach Hotel. Still plenty of places to enter. You'll still get a shirt if you enter now. So there's an online link on the Facebook group. I'll pop that link up on our Facebook page a little bit after this, and you can just click straight through the entry form there. So you guys still there?
Yeah, we're here. We're listening.
Okay.
You're doing a lot of lucky draws. But I've seen my name come up. I'm a bit concerned.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think Cam, you can take that poster off there now.
I saw Kevin Tate's name come up. I'm a bit concerned about that. I think it's rigged.
Oh.
Let me tell you, the Pomula comp and Kevin Tate, him and his family are so lucky at that comp. I think the one year his daughters won all the lucky draw prizes. So basically, like Byron was saying, is that the comp's very much family orientated. Obviously, it's a fishing comp, so the main focus is fishing, but it's all happening at Pomula Beach Hotel, and there's a lot going on. There's festivities all weekend. Hopefully, some crayfish prize, because obviously the conditions for diving are not going to be ideal because the water's dirty again. There's a couple of those guys down there who are pretty good at knowing exactly where to go, and they stick their hands in holes and pull out crays. So we're hoping that we'll have a bit of that going on. And there's live music on the go, and we do a lot of prizes as well. We do lucky draws all weekend. We're going to be doing some lucky draws in the build up to the comp still, hopefully, the weather holds, and we're looking to have a good weekend. It's like we were saying earlier, is that the seasons seemed to have shifted a bit over the years, and it seems like maybe our sort of good May weather is maybe pushing a little bit into June. So maybe in the years to come, many comps need to start looking at that and see how they sort of start planning things. I don't know your thoughts on that, Hash. Put you on the spot a little bit, but
again for me.
It just seems like when we first used to do the Pomula comp, this time of year, we're very much guaranteed great weather. And then over the last couple of years, it has definitely changed, and it hasn't been as accurate and easy to sort of predict. So I think we'll have to look at things for the next couple of years and see where to sort of place comps. In terms of historical weather, sorry, I'm just jumping off the comp a little bit, but it's relative. We've always based our comps on historical weather because we found that weather patterns tend to follow very similar patterns. Well, they're very similar every year, the same time of year, mostly.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Is that normally a case? And I know you chatted a little bit about it earlier, but that has changed a bit, hasn't it? We haven't been able to get those more accurate historical readings.
Just make sure she hasn't disappeared. Lisa,
I'm back.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about climate change and these ideas is there's more extreme events and less predictability. So, weather is hard enough to predict, and with these extra extremes, and you saw it with the South African Weather Services, because they got it so wrong. With the first cut-off flow, they were so very, very nervous about the second one that they gave quite extreme warnings. Yes, it was a pretty severe event, but we went from 4 to 10 quite quickly in the warnings. So yeah, it was really, really difficult to predict that initial event, and right until it was actually happening. When people were starting to experience the very heavy rainfall, then only the announcements came out. And that's what we're finding, is that our models are having to be tuned. I mean, this is where sort of machine learning and artificial intelligence is so wonderful, but our machines are having to continuously relearn, and where we could use algorithms that were pretty reliable even 10 years ago, these are now having to be adapted for these more extreme events. So yes, it's just harder to predict.
Yeah, I think, and there's an element of luck in it as well.
So
Not your prediction, but I'm saying, booking the time. With these comps, you have to make a call so far in advance, because there are other comps happening. There's lots of activities happening in the fishing fraternity. So you have to sort of like pick a weekend, and you have to, because there's always going to be an event somewhere through it. There's going to be a cold front at some stage.
Exactly. Especially in winter as well. In winter, you're more likely to have a cold front coming through in winter at some point. So, it becomes a gamble in the day. When planning for future events, for what's going to happen next time or 3 weeks time, it becomes quite a bit of a gamble. When you get it right, you're on point. So the complexities of planning these events ahead are real.
And I think also, I think everyone who's fishing in the fishing fraternity understands it. We all want to have a perfect weather.
Yeah,
but it's very, very
difficult to do those long range forecasts.
Yeah. It looks like a clear Saturday. Obviously these models become less reliable the further away we try to predict, but it's looking like your Saturday will be clear, and then Sunday a bit of rain, but no extreme event.
I'm with you, Lisa. I'm with you. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. We deserve it. Natal needs a break. Please, can Natal
Just moving away from that, the weather from the comp, I just got something I was just thinking about when we were chatting earlier, and the amount of fresh water that's been pushed out into the sea. Now, does that have any effect on weather patterns straight after like an event such as that? So much fresh water being pushed out into the sea, changing the temperature and the salinity of the water, but that obviously the salinity doesn't have too much effect on the weather, but that drastic change in temperature, can that then have a knock-on effect? So you have almost like another strange weather pattern straight after a flooding event?
It's so localized, we wouldn't expect there to be a sort of reverse. No.
So it's just because
there's changes in salinity
local,
right near the coastline, but our weather systems are they're much larger scale than that. They develop quite far away and move in as such. So no, we don't expect that.
Okay.
There's definitely a linkage between that strong north to south, very warm current that we've got running down the coast, and the magnitude of the sort of low pressures and cut-off lows that we're experiencing. I'm not sure whether the weather forecasters are looking at that, but I'm sure the models take that into account. As the amount of energy that we're seeing on this conveyor that's running down the east coast at the moment is significantly more than would typically be experienced if we had sea temperatures of around 22, 23 as opposed to 25, 26 degrees.
I think that Mozambique current running down there, any sort of variances in that are sort of like, when you start talking like 2 degrees, you're almost talking 10%. A 10% variance in anything is going to have an impact, and it's a mass, like Doug's saying, it's a mass of water that's shifting.
Warm, moist water that comes down
and generating energy. When you've got a current line, something running at like 5-6 kilometers an hour, against stagnant water as well. That's also creating energy and differentials, very localized, possibly in that area specific.
The pockets
where you'll see that sort of thunderstorm activity and that. But again, it is creating energy, and it's on a large scale there down that coast. We know that the power of it. But guys, yeah, I mean, I think
Right.
an interesting topic.
Yes, yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
everyone for their input. I think it was good. And guys, yeah, really, if we really would like you to participate. So this is our first time that we've run on Restream. I think it's been a lot smoother. We can see everything that you drop in on the Facebook feed, so we can see it on our screen. So if you have any questions in that, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, later on you can drop it in. Okay, so I've got Billy there asking a question. So Billy, yeah, it's not a comp as you would. It's not the Msonga Festival, which you've already had, or the Durban Festival. It's an inter-club. So basically, it's teams fishing to progress to interprovincial and then to national and SETSA colors. So inter-club, each club will send a team of 3 anglers, and the hosting club will provide boats and skip them up. Fishing it's 10 kilo egg for rules, 10 kilo comp line with egg for rules, and it's a bottom fish, game fish species comp. So a lot of things in the mix that have to be thought about. Yes, quite a technical comp to fish with your team. But but you're more than welcome, anyone in the area, to please drop into some Msonga Skibo Club. The activities will be around Friday evening. We'll have the registration and briefing. We've got a tent there. We've got some live music. Please come join us. You're more than welcome to. And then Saturday evening will be the weigh-in. Will be at 6 o'clock. So all the fish will be weighed from the 15 teams at 6 o'clock. So they'll be bagged, iced, and then weighed in. And then it'll be music again. And then on Sunday we'll have the final weigh-in, which will be at 3:30, with prize giving after. So you're more than welcome to come and join us at the Msonga Skibo Club. I'm expecting some good fish to come out. When you put a lot of good anglers like this together in a comp, there's provincial anglers fishing. There's some guys with sets of colors already, and you've got all the young upcoming guys coming and great skippers. You always try and put the best skippers in. There will be some fish this weekend. So if you're keen to come and have a little bit of a look-see, please come and join us at the Msonga Skibo Club. More than welcome. To the team, Doug, Ash, Lisa, Cameron, and Brennan, guys, we'll see you in the water. Please be safe. There's some big surf around. The conditions though look good once you're out, but please be careful. Don't go alone if you're on skis. Look up with a buddy, and be safe. And most of all, tight lines. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you on the water.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys.